From a bunch of characters still being in a coma, to finally finding out the real meaning behind Abby's warning, here's what needs to happen in From Season 3. The original horror show on MGM Plus will be back for a third season in 2024. The first two seasons were very scary, and everyone loved them. The series started back in 2022, and it's about people who live in a secret town where they're forced to stay by unknown forces. It's become a hidden gem on the high-end cable channel because of its amazing writing. And with a third season on the way, fans can't wait to see what they've in store. Now that the second season's over, any guesses about what might happen in the third season are just that, guesses. Fans know that the show thrives because it keeps up that insane level of mystery. But as the show goes into its third year on TV, there are bigger questions that need to be answered, like the real meaning of From's cicadas, which have been a part of the show since the beginning. In Season 2's ending, the boy in white threw Tabitha out of a glass window and she woke up from a coma, possibly dead. This was the biggest climax of the show so far, and there's no sign that Season 3 will be any less exciting. The creator of the show told fans something they already knew, that the show builds and builds to a really powerful, crazy, and climactic end, meaning that big changes are coming, and with the next season starting, he gave fans one hint about how it's gonna go. Grab onto your hats, people. Things are about to get way worse. Season 2 ended in an epic cliffhanger that'll have lasting effects on the rest of the show and also answer some important questions about the core town. After the upsetting end of Episode 9, Julie, Randall, and Marielle were in coma-like states, and were sometimes in pain from things that can't be seen. Then there's Tabitha and Jade, who went into the dangerous woods to try to figure out what the children and the symbols they've been seeing in their dreams mean. Season 2, Episode 10, Once Upon a Time, brought together many people who are working against the bad things in the town, while Boyd tried to stop the melody. At the end of the second season, Boyd broke the music box, which saved Randall, Julie, and Marielle from the sinister future predicted by the creepy nursery song. This symbol came to Jade in the tunnels, and he saw children lying on rocks and saying, "Ankui," which was similar to what Tabitha saw, leading her to the lighthouse. The last thing we saw was her being pushed out of the lighthouse and waking up in a hospital outside of town, which makes it harder for her to find her trapped family. So fans really want to know what'll happen to her next. Even though it's not clear if Tabitha's fall from the tower means she's dead in town, but safe outside, the other characters in From can now safely go home. Her coming out of a coma could be seen as proof that the strange theories from Season 2 about the town's people really being in comas after car accidents are true. This means that these people from the second season are in a coma somewhere outside of town, and they'll all have to die in order to come back to life on the other side. Hikers found Tabitha on a path, so it's unlikely that her family or RV were nearby, so she probably went home alone after falling from the tower. The cuts on her face came from the window glass, not the RV crash, but this is just a theory. So maybe she'll be back in the next season to explain what really went down. Coming back to the lighthouse where she fell from, we might finally be able to figure out how important the lighthouse is and why the boy in white pushed Tab in the first place. In a flashback in Season 2, Episode 8, Victor's mother tried to find her way home by going to the lighthouse, and 40 years later, Tabitha did the same thing. Even though Victor's mom died on the way, the kids were really calling her to the tower so she could find a way out. The kids seem to know that the lighthouse is their way home, and that the boy in white is their mysterious guide who'll lead them to freedom. Before he throws Tabitha out of the tower window, the boy in white says sorry to her, telling her it's the only way. At the end of Season 2, there was more proof that the boy had already pushed other characters out of the tower, and it seems that Tabitha and Victor's mom were chosen because they were mothers. The boys looked out for Victor, Ethan, Sarah, and Boyd, and he might think that Tabitha's the best person to go home, to get help for the other people in the town who are being held captive, because she's seen dreams of the children and the lighthouse throughout. Fans also need to know what the connection between the lighthouse and the bottle tree is. In Episode 10 of Season 2, the people went back to the bottle tree from the end of Season 1 to hear Victor explain what the tree's really for. Victor told Tabitha that the bottle tree in the faraway places is a magical tree, which is the only thing that can take people to the lighthouse. The people of Fromville can't see the tower, so they don't know what it's for, but it seems to be the only way to get to the outside world. The end of Season 2 doesn't say what's in the bottles or why that tree's connected to the lighthouse, but it seems possible that it has something to do with people who don't live in the town. There may be a lighthouse keeper who puts messages for the people of the town in bottles and hangs them from the tree. These messages could be sent to people outside the town or to people who are locked up inside it. But then again, the bottle tree could be there to catch ghosts that give people bad dreams, so the bottles might keep the dreams from leaving the lighthouse, keeping the rest of the world safe from the creatures of From that no one knows about. We might get to learn the real reason behind the bottles, but what I'm most curious about is the weird chant that those kids did, when they kept saying Ankui? When Tabitha climbed the stairs to the tower, and when the children appeared to Jade in the tunnels, they both said it. And they've been saying it in Tab's visions too. This word doesn't seem to have a straight translation in any other language, so it could be a combination of words or a title made up just for From's fictional world. One possible basis for the word is the Celtic mythological figure Anku, who represents death and sends the souls of the dead to the underworld. Given that the show's about death and evil, this would make sense. But we can't know for sure. Maybe the big bad monsters that are keeping everyone hostage in the town are the angels of death, and we'll finally get to see them. That could also explain the signs that Jade saw in his dreams when he found out that it was behind the terrible crimes of a former resident. In the caves, he came across a strange area with rock slabs and light shining down on them. A little while later, he saw those creepy kids from Tabitha's visions, who were lying on the rocks, pointing up and saying, Ankui! When Jade looked up, he saw a big tree root symbol above the cave entry, but when he turned around, both the symbol and the children were gone. Cryptic messages are From's favorite method of communication, so we might finally get the truth behind Abby's warning to Boyd. Boyd's dead wife Abby showed up in a vision when he was trying to get Julie, Randall, and Marielle out of their trances, and she told him that breaking the music box wouldn't end their misery. Instead, the figures would still die a horrible death. Abby says that it knows Boyd won't listen because he has hope. And since hope feeds the forest, fear isn't the driving force here. Hope's what keeps the characters going through the hard times they face, instead of giving up and giving in to the dangers of the forest. Abby's warning means that the town's forces are stronger, because people hope to get back home one day. So he should have given in to what the monsters want. We'll hopefully get all the answers that we're so patiently waiting for. So there you have it. From finally finding out the real meaning behind Abby's warning to a bunch of characters still being in a coma, that's what needs to happen in From Season 3.